Hi guys, this is Lalana. Thanks for tuning into the Sovereign Path. So today we're going to do the last video in the three-part video series of the signs and stages that you're on a twin flame path. So if you haven't watched the first two videos, part one, part two, stage one, and stage two, and all the signs that are related to those, please watch those first. Before you watch this video, so all of this is cohesive and so that it all makes sense. So let's see, stage three. After you've been through this very like harrowing sort of process, we move into stage three, which when I left off from the last video, stage two, ego at this point is completely panicking, right? It's looking for escape hatches. It is looking for ways to go back into the old life. As it is crumbling, as parts of it are being sort of torn away, as the programs are all coming up for question, as every shadow that you have ever had in your entire life is coming up to look at you, to ask for clearing, for transmutation, for transmutation, and for healing. A lot of twins find at this point that they are looking for reassurance from the twin. So is the twin also going through this? Is my twin also going through all of these things that I'm going through? Are they going through an awakening? Are they going through a dark night? All of these questions start to come up to the surface, and the ego starts to become very attached to the answers to these questions. For the Divine Feminine, as I said in my other videos, mostly on this channel, I'm going to be speaking to the Divine Feminine, as I am one, so that's just easier for me. So the Divine Feminine is, for the most part, going to be really sort of locked in on, I'm not the only one doing this, right? You know, they're aware of this connection, right? They're aware of what's really going on here, right? Right? Because the ego is panicking. The ego is freaking out. The ego doesn't have any touch tones anymore. The ego doesn't know what to hold on. It doesn't have footholds in the mountain like it used to have, right? And so since no one really around necessarily understands what you're going through, except for watching videos like this, or potentially if you know someone else who is on a twin flame path, which maybe at this point in time, some people do. When I was going through this, no, it was just me. So there are those people that you want to sort of lean on or reach out to that you have done in the past with other types of relationships. But this relationship doesn't fit into the dynamic that any of those past relationships did. And so even if you're trying to explain this dynamic to like your best friend or your mom or your cousin or whoever to sort of get advice, most people are not going to understand where you're coming from. This lends itself to the ego feeling even more separate, right? So this process is sort of pushing you to be in that place of, I don't feel like I have support. Right? Most Divine Feminines, you will feel like I don't have support. I don't know what to do. I can watch these videos and I can take a course and I can do these sort of things potentially if you're that far along once you reach this sign. But a lot of times at this point, we're waist deep into the awakening process into ego death. We're still in a point where it's absolute chaosville. We don't know which direction to look. All we know is that on some level, this person that I met has to do with what's happening to me. This person has to do with what's going on. And I know it and I can feel it, right? And so I want to look to this person to hold my hand through this, to tell me that they're feeling this too, you know, to reassure me, to like sort of bring me back home, so to speak. Like I'm not alone, right? You know, you're dealing with this too, right? So this lends itself to that chasing energy, right? So the separation, and the thing is about all of these stages and all of these signs, is it's not like a one shot and done. It's not like boom, 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 boom. It's like boom, 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 right? It's everywhere. It's in your face all the time. And so one day you'll be like, oh, I'm feeling good. And you know, I'm not really feeling that chasing energy anymore. And I'm feeling kind of good. And then the next minute you're just like in complete off the deep end chaos, right? And so it comes in waves. It goes in spirals, the awakening process. That's what it does. It's sort of like your higher self is like, okay, let's give Lalana a couple days break because she's having a hard time. And then, okay, you're good and rested now. Let's get back in it, right? So there's going to be that sort of ebb and flow that goes on in this process. But it's going to be a steady incline. Even if the steady incline for some is slower than others, it's going to depend on how much your higher self knows that you can handle at any given time. And they know how much you can handle at any given time. And so even when we're in the throes of ego saying, I can't do this anymore, right? This is one of those processes like you're on your knees praying, if you've never prayed in your life before, to make things stop, to make things make sense, to make things understand, to make this person come back, to make this person come back so all of these things make sense, right? But that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is the shedding process is going to continue to take place. And when you start sort of trying to communicate with your twin, if you're in separation or going after them or chasing them or trying to make this fit into a 3D relationship template and trying to understand, are you feeling this? And, will you talk to me? Can you, for the most part, the masculine is going to be detached. The masculine is basically like, I shoved you onto this path of activation and your awakening. Have at it. And it sounds crucial, and it sounds cold, and it sounds brutal, and on some levels it is. But that's when we have to remember, and it's very difficult to remember when you're in the throes of this, that this is your same soul. This is you. This is you pushing you back into you so that you can come out of all of these things that you're trying to hold on to while you're going through ego death. So that once you let go of these things, you're not in pain anymore. But when you're in the throes of it, when you're chest deep in this, you can't see that, right? So I just want to make that super clear. When you're in the throes of this, you can't see that all of the things that your ego is trying to hold on to and trying to grip to make you feel better are the exact things that once you let go of will actually bring you peace. It's a paradox. This entire journey is a paradox. At some point, I'm going to create some coaching courses to help you guys do this, because this is that aspect that it's just like, I just don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. When your ego starts to crumble and you haven't gotten to the point of saying I need to pull this back into me, which is what it's asking you to do, but you don't usually know this yet. I need to pull this back to me, right? I need to pull this love back to me. If we are not at that point yet and we're still at this crumbling stage, it becomes obsessive and it becomes chasing, and it becomes this point of feeling like I just need this other person. I just need my twin flame to make me feel better, right? I need them to be able to navigate this. I need them to be by my side to be able to do this. And it becomes obsessive in a way, and it becomes a way of feeling like an absolute panic and like I can't even really, if you've experienced that, then you know what it is. And the thing is in these moments is to really remember, my twin is me. My twin is me. And I know my ego doesn't want to understand that, and I know that's difficult for my mind to grasp onto, but my twin is me. And my twin is always with me. My twin is with me through every single step of this process. And just because I don't see them physically standing here by my side in a romantic way does not mean that they are not constantly and consistently with me energetically all the time. It's just that the veil of the matrix has basically come up between us, and it's making me not be able to see straight because I've been asleep. And now I'm waking up, and that veil is getting thinner. And so I need to continue to let my ego to break down so that veil can get thinner and thinner and thinner. And then I can see, oh yeah, that's my twin right there beside me. They never left. They never left. They never leave you, okay? So moving on to the next stage. Let's see. A lot of these overlap, so I apologize for that if it's kind of like doing like the thing that I just said again. And that is that your identity is crumbling. So I hit a little bit on this in the stage 2 video. And that is, at this point, it's going to feel like you're kind of standing on the outside of the world looking in. It's like I'm standing on the other side of that window, and all the people that I know and the normal reactions that I've had are in this room doing their normal thing, and I'm standing outside of the window just looking in like I don't know where I fit anymore, right? That's gonna happen. Where do I fit now? You know, I'm going through this awakening process. I'm going through ego death. The veils of the matrix are becoming thinner and thinner. I'm seeing through things. You know, my gifts are coming online. My intuition is coming online. I'm starting to see that this reality is not what I thought it was. I'm seeing that these programs and these imprints and these belief systems that I have been running all my life are not even real, right? They're not even me. They're not my truth. They're my experiences, the experiences that the soul has chosen to take on for its own growth. And so now, how do I fit into the world anymore? How do I have conversations with people who have always been close to me about 3D topics when I don't even feel connected to the 3D now, right? I don't feel connected to the 5D either. I feel like I'm in some sort of quasi world in between spaces, and I don't know how to deal with that. I don't know what to do, right? This is the identity crumbling. This is the identity of ego crumbling, the false representation of self. So this is the aspect of being like, I used to, you know, write books, or I used to play music, or I used to do all of these things that I was so passionate about, and now they just seem stale to me. They seem flat on some level. Where are my passions? Why do I feel like I'm not interested in the same things that I was? Why do I feel like I can't hold the same sort of conversations that I used to have, right? This is the identity shift. This is when that aspect of the ego that is panicking and trying to maintain its false sense of self is actually losing its grip entirely. And when it's actually losing its grip entirely, it will feel like I don't know how to freaking communicate in the damn world anymore with anybody. And I feel like I just straight up don't fit. And I don't know what to do about that. So this is what, and I'm going to do a video on awakening. And this is why I talk a lot. And anybody who's been like watching my videos, you've probably heard me say this, is that, you know, we have a false, a misrepresentation of what spiritual awakening and ego death is. You know, a lot of people will sort of be like, oh, well, it's bliss and it's amazing, and that's after you come out the other end of awakening. That's after you come out the other side, and we'll get to that in a few stages in a minute. The throes of a spiritual awakening and an ego death feels like hell. It feels like the depths of hell, right? The dark night of the soul, which is what an ego death is not fun. It is not blissful. It is not light. It's none of those things. It's destructive. It's every aspect of you being torn away from you, right? It's all the identifications that you have been holding on to all your life that are now crumbling. And so you're left with this feeling of void, with this feeling of I'm standing here in between worlds and I don't know who the fuck I am. There's nothing blissful about that. There's nothing that feels good about it. Nothing at all. It's destructive, right? So we really need to keep that in mind And it has a grander, higher, good purpose, right? But we need to keep that in mind when we're always saying like, oh, you know, we'll just be in love and light and we'll just stay super positive and no. And I'm not downing anybody when I say that, but that's spiritual bypassing when we're doing that. When we're consistently sort of ignoring what's coming up in our shadow, ignoring that these aspects of me are falling away, and I'm trying to just stay positive and I'm trying to stay like in love and light, because that's what awakening is, right? It's bliss and it's peace and it's all these wonderful things. So that's what enlightenment is. That's what inner union is. That's after you go through all of these other things. And so I've been coaching clients since 2019 for a long time. And this is one of the things that I've hit over and over again with a lot of people that I've worked with. Why do I feel like shit, Lalana? This is supposed to feel good, right? Awakening is supposed to feel good. Awakening is supposed to feel like bliss. It's supposed to feel like light. It's supposed to feel like, you know, all of these sort of things. You can have periods of feeling in bliss when you're on an awakening path, especially when your clairs start to come online, when you have this intuitive sense now of just knowing things, when you look out your window and you see that same bird every day that's like telling you like, I'm here for you, I'm here with you, you're not alone. When you have communication with your spirit guides, when you're deep in meditation, when you have the numbers popping up for you that are like, we're here for you, don't worry, we've got you, you're not alone. Those things feel nice and they feel reassuring. And it's for that purpose that your higher self and your spirit guides are always showing you those things, so that you remember that there is a grander purpose to the suffering that you are feeling. They're showing you the light at the end of the tunnel, right? When these things are going on, and it's very important. But it's also very important to know that the suffering is aspects of you that are not you. And so when we're suffering, as difficult as it is for the ego and the mind to grasp onto and then to accept, is that when we're suffering because we're holding on to things that don't serve us anymore, we are actually creating our own suffering. And this is that part where I'm saying that when you're in chest deep into your awakening process in the dark night of the soul, and you're just trying to keep your head above water, right? And you're trying to sort of feel like, but is my twin going through this too? And I feel like I'm on my own, right? These are the times that you have to remind yourself, the parts of me that I am releasing are the parts of me that no longer serve me. I am not alone ever. If I could just see through this veil over here, I would notice that my entire soul family is around me and beside me at every second and every given moment. This is the part of the awakening process that feels scary, because you feel like you're alone, because you're looking in this room and you're standing outside that window feeling like, how do I communicate with my family or with my friends or with my best friend or all these people when I've made all these massive shifts and I don't know how to do it anymore? And that creates this feeling of loneliness, right? So it's important in those moments to realize you're not alone, you're never alone, you've never been alone, you are always being supported, always. That's why they're sending you numbers. That's why they're sending you signs. Whew. Sorry, guys. Woo. Sorry. Whew. I know how hard this path can be. But you're not alone. You're never alone. Okay? Your guides are always with you. Always, always, always. Sorry about that. So that brings me into the next sign, which is surrender, right? So this is that place where you start to actually feel and know that you're being supported, that you're being guided, that you're, not only is your twin flame with you all the time, your soul family is with you all the time, right? You did not incarnate here alone. You incarnated here with an entire team that is supporting you at every turn, at every, right angle. They are constantly with you, constantly supporting you. And you have to remember as well that you decided to do this in this lifetime. You decided before you incarnated into this lifetime that you were going to awaken in this lifetime, right? This was a decision that you made. So this isn't something that blindsided you. We sort of feel like, oh, well, awakening comes out of nowhere. It comes out of nowhere to the ego. It doesn't come out of nowhere to the higher self, right? It doesn't come out of nowhere to your higher self, who you are. This was planned before you came here. So as you plan that with your soul family as well. You know, we're going to set up these sort of things, and we're going to be here at this time, and we're going to meet your twin at this time, and your awakening is going to be activated like this. All of these things have been planned before you incarnated. So just like all of those things were planned, all of your soul family that is with you has also been planned. This is what they planned. It's not like they're like, oh, Lalana's going down there and she's going to awaken. We planned it. Okay, you good luck. You know, we're going to go and do our other stuff, whatever that is. No, we're all going down. We are all going down. I say down. It's not really down. 3D. We are all coming into this incarnation together, and we're doing this together, right? This is the thing that we need to remember. And this really will assist you in regard to surrendering on this path. Surrender is huge on this path in regard to this entire process. It's trust, it's inner trust, it's trusting that God, source, universe, your twin flame has your back at every single moment and every single turn on this path, because they do, and you're not alone. So the next thing is, so after you come through the surrender process, you're going to be in this place of significant soul growth. This is when the healing aspect of you really starts to take hold, and your programs really start to come into, that used to trigger me whenever somebody would say that. And I mean, I felt it because I knew that it triggered me in the past, but I don't really feel anything. It doesn't really trigger me now, right? That's what things are going to start coming up as, like, I've been running an abandonment wound my entire life, but I'm not really afraid of being abandoned anymore. Like, I'm feeling that. It's not resonating with me anymore, right? So will you get checked and tested when you feel that way? Yes, you will. So I'm not really feeling like I don't really feel like I would really be triggered if somebody left my life, or if I didn't talk to my twin again, or if they came back in, and I think I'd be fine if we weren't in union. And well, if you say those sort of things, which almost all divine feminine, you can bet your ass your twin flame is going to come in and trigger you and find out if that's true or not. But the good part of this is that this coming back in and out of separation, which will happen with your twin either energetically or physically, is to test where you're at, right? So that also is in your highest good. It is to test, like, okay, so have we healed the abandonment wound yet? Let's find out, right? Have we healed the betrayal wound yet? Let's find out. Have we gotten into a place of inner peace yet? Let's trigger the shit out of you and find out, right? This is how you can gauge where you're at, is you're gonna get these tests. There are going to be these parts that are gonna come in and come out, and there's just like a feeler, usually it's gonna be through your twin that's doing this, but sometimes it's gonna be through other people as well, family members. That great quote that says, if you think you're awake, go spend the holidays with your family. You're gonna get tested in a lot of different ways to see where you're at. Have you reached neutrality? Have you come out the other end of the dark night? Have you come out the other end of the spiritual awakening? Where are you? So at this point, you're going to find significant soul growth, right? You're going to find that these things that used to just throw you over the top are no longer resonating with you. They're not triggering you anymore. And if they are triggering you anymore, then you're gonna know, okay, I need to go back in and do the deep dive and, and pull this thing further apart so that it's no longer, having any sort of energetic resonance within my world anymore. This is when the aspect of self-love becomes so intense and so strong that your whole life becomes about inner work, shadow work, self-love, self-worth, self-value, inner peace, all of these sort of things, your whole world becomes about ascension. I want to ascend. I want to break free of all these shackles. I see it now. I can see through the veil now. I'm seeing very clearly now. You know, my clairs are online. My crown chakra is opening now. My third eye is opening now. I actually get it. And so since I actually get it, my goal now is not necessarily union with my twin flame in a romantic way. It's union with myself. This is where the divine feminine shifts completely out of the suffering aspect of the ego death, of the pining, of the freaking out, of the chasing, of the obsessive thoughts. And she comes into a place, he or she comes into a place of being like, my main focus in life is my inner love, right? My focus in life is coming back into union with God, source, creation, universe, all that is, because I understand now that that's what I am. When you get here, the amount of self-love that you have is overwhelming, to be honest. It's completely overwhelming. The love that you have for your twin that's unconditional is also completely overwhelming. And it is a way of not being attached anymore. It's a way of being like, you know, you're me, I'm you. I trust you to walk the path that you are here to walk as well, and to navigate it the best way that you navigate it. And I don't need to feel like I'm, trying to know where you're at on your path, what you're doing on your path, where are your programs, where are your stuff, is there a third party situation, what's going on? All of those things start to quiet down once you really embark on that deep, deep inner love. Because at that point you understand, and it's not a mental understanding, it's an embodiment of I'm coming back into the embodiment of my higher self, of God, source, creation, love, all that is. And separation doesn't exist here. Attachment doesn't exist here. Jealousy doesn't exist here, right? Pining doesn't exist. Chasing doesn't exist. Me being out of balance doesn't exist in this space within me anymore. And so therefore, I can now hold the space for whatever the twin needs to experience for their own experience, depending on where they're at on the path, right? And so it opens up this whole sort of place of saying, that's what all that dark night suffering was for. That's why my guides were showing me that they were with me every step of this journey. That's why they were trying to show me, hey, look, here's some numbers, here's the light, don't forget to see the light, everything's gonna be okay. Once you get to this stage of significant soul growth and deep self-love, you come into a place of neutrality. And this place of neutrality is just, it's like still point. It's the same sort of feeling that you have when you're deep in meditation, where the thoughts stop, the obsessive thinking stops, the chasing stops, all of this sort of needing to figure everything out stops, the seeking stops. You come into this place of just like, it's just like a hum, for lack of a better way of saying that. It's like, if I need my ego to work, well, then I'll ask you to come online. If I need to use my mind for something, then I'll ask you to do it. But it's not just like you're constantly saying whatever and constantly going, which is what the mind has always done. When you come into a place of neutrality, the mind is no longer in the driver's seat, and the ego has taken a complete back seat, like three rows back in your SUV, and is strapped in with the seatbelt and is not talking anymore, right? So it's this place of being like, my higher self is now driving the car. My ego isn't driving the car, and my obsessive thoughts and my mind is not driving the car. My higher self is driving the car. And now I remember what neutrality feels like, right? Now I remember what it feels like to just be in that place of a walking meditative state, is what they like to call it, right? Will you still get triggers? Yes, you will. Will you react to them in the same way? No, you won't. And when you react to them, it will be short-lived. It will be a place of, oh, I remember what that used to feel like. I remember what that used to feel like when I was running that program, and when that super triggered me. And I just felt that trigger again, and maybe I reacted to it for a minute. Maybe I just observed it. Maybe I didn't react to it at all. just depending on where you're at. So you're still going to have these testing things that are going to come up at this stage. The other thing at this stage is, for a lot of people, you're going to hear this word, and I'm going to do a video on this, where it's called the void. So the void stage, which I call neutrality, is a place where you're going to feel like, okay, I am coming out the other end of my spiritual awakening. I'm coming out the end of this dark night of the soul, and I can feel I'm not running all of this stuff anymore. You know, I'm coming into this place where I just feel kind of, like I say, at still point. I feel like I'm mostly in meditation all the time. I don't really feel connected to necessarily the 3D anymore. I feel more connected to the higher frequency of the 5D. But I'm not quite there yet either, and I'm not quite sure what that means. And so for a lot of people, the void just sort of feels like an in-between space. And it is another space of surrender, of just coming into a place of stillness and of quiet, and of getting used to the feeling of not constantly thinking, of not constantly having to be busy, of not constantly having to do something or to be productive or to live in the same kind of chaos, loud life that the 3D tends to house. So it's a place of sort of getting used to what it feels like to be outside of separation consciousness, right? And to be shifting in to unity consciousness. And it can feel kind of flatlined for some people. It can feel kind of boring for some people. Some people describe it as being in that place of, well, I don't really feel passionate about anything. What's my purpose? What's my mission? Everybody's talking about purpose and mission, and you know, what am I supposed to do? I just feel kind of like I'm just here. I don't feel a lot. I don't feel a little. It's just kind of like, now what? The now what is the surrender of being and becoming used to what it feels like, the disengaging of all of that separation stuff that had you running all of those programs of needing to do this and this and this and this and busy and busy and busy, and everybody's always doing this, and I'm always thinking, it's like none of that is going on anymore. And so when that's not going on anymore, there is a place of feeling like, what is going on then? You know, like what is happening? And so surrendering to nothing actually right now is happening. And I'm getting used to feeling what it feels like to shift into the higher fifth dimensional frequency of oneness and unity. So I'm out of the separation consciousness for the most part. And now I'm shifting into unity consciousness and oneness, but I'm not quite there yet. And so I'm still sort of getting used to what this feels like, right? So the last stage is when you come into inner union, right? So inner union is the phase that you just basically feel at peace. So this is when the joy comes back in, right? This is what people are talking about when they're saying bliss. This is when you feel like you are just completely connected with everything and everyone in a loving, unconditional, observatory way. So non-attachment has completely taken hold at this point. You are not being triggered at this point. You're just sort of like allowing people to live the experience that they are here to live. There's no judgment going on. You're just sort of in this place, which people would call enlightenment. I personally don't believe that enlightenment necessarily exists on Earth at this time. But I think this is what people would say that you're closest to enlightenment in this physical reality, is when you're in inner union. So at this point, your self-love has become so sustaining within you that you are not looking outside of you in any external way at all. You're not wondering, well, why do I feel just sort of neutral, or you know, what's coming next, or, you know, what's the next stage on the path, or what's my twin doing, or are we going to come back into, you know, physical romantic union? You know, where are they on the path? Are they doing their work? All of that goes away. It all goes away. And at this point, you're just in a place that is basically saying, I'm open to union and I'm open not to union, right? Because I don't feel that anything is missing anymore. There is nothing missing. There is nothing that in my external world, and I'm saying my and I just as examples, that is in a place that feels like there's no void, there's no place where there's an emptiness, there's no place where anyone feels that they need to be complete, or that they need to feel whole, or that they need, you know, their twin, or some people call it their other half. It is another half. It is not your other half. It is you incarnate. And, you know, I kind of just, you know, need this person to be able to feel X, Y, and Z, or, you know, I need romantic partnership to be able to do these things. This is a place where I talked about in my other video that says 3D relationship versus 5D union, which I suggest that everybody watch because it's a really important video that I think all twins need to be aware of. And that is that once you're in this place of inner union, you have shifted into the 5th dimensional frequency. And once you're shifted into the 5th dimensional frequency, this is where interconnected partnership exists. This is where sacred union exists. This is where twin flame union also exists. This is when you have come back into union with self, God, source, creation, love, all that is still in a physical reality, just in the 5D. And at this point, as I said, there's nothing missing. It's just a peaceful place. And at this point, the connections that we have with other people are coming from a place of love, of unity, of oneness, of non-attachment. And this is where the divine feminine can either choose to be just friends with her twin flame. She can choose to be just in union with self because it's very self-sustaining. She can choose to, like, you know, kind of hold space, continue to hold space for the divine masculine if he's continuing on his journey. She can come into romantic physical union with the divine masculine in a 5th dimensional frequency at that point, if this is what they both choose. So at this point, it's kind of like the field is open. It's game on. Because at this point, there is so much oneness and unity that's going on within you. You have completely shifted out of the third dimensional vibration, that it's just peace. You're just living in a peaceful existence within. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't things that are still going on in your external world. It doesn't mean that you're still not interfacing with the 3D, right? You can still be interfacing with the 3D because the 3D 5D split, which I'm going to do a video on at some point, are still going to be coinciding side by side, but they're not doing this anymore. And so you're not doing this anymore. So it doesn't mean that you don't have external factors that are still going to be coming in and out. It just means that you're not going to be affected by them in the same way that you were when you were operating from a 3rd dimensional separation consciousness, because now you're operating from a 5th dimensional unity consciousness. So your whole energetic structure has shifted, as I said in the first video, from a carbon-based system to a crystalline-based system. Your whole energetic structure from your root chakra up, and that's just the 7 chakras, you actually have 12, which will start to come online once you come into this higher vibratory consciousness. So once these things are happening, you can still be interfacing with the 3D and with the people that you love that are still existing in that 3rd dimensional state, because that's where they are consciously. That's where their soul's growth is. And so there's no bad or wrong or right or good or any of these things. It's just that these interactions are going to be with you coming from a place of neutrality, coming from a place of oneness, coming from a place of non-judgment, of non-attachment, coming from a place of observing, because you are so full and so complete now within that, as I said, it's like things can't really rock the boat anymore. You've deleted all of these other programs that you were running for so long, and that most people are still running potentially in your family or around you. But the amount of love that you are holding within your system is now radiating, right? And so it's affecting everyone around you, and it's assisting other people around you. At this point, you're definitely stepping into mission, stepping into purpose, wanting to help others on the path, wanting to do these sort of things, because you see you've reached the light at the end of the tunnel. And so this is the grand sort of finale in regard to the twin flame path. It brings you back home to you. It brings you back home to God. It's doing what you wanted in the very initial stages of meeting your twin, which was merging. You wanted that merge with your twin because they were representing source to you. And you were feeling the abandonment wound of source when you couldn't be with them, right? Or when you were running these other programs and having, karmic relationships and all of these other interactions. It was coming from that wound that we describe as the inner child wound of abandonment or low self-worth or low self-love, which is actually, what's actually happening is that when you incarnated here, when we all incarnated here, we took in that massive cosmic wound of separation from God, source, creation. And so the twin reflects back to you God's source creation. And so then you remember, that's what I am, because my twin is reflecting back to me what I am. And that's why I want to merge with them, because that's source. They are representing source to me. They are me. They are me, and I am love, and I am unity. That's the point of this path. And it's a massive point, because once you get to that point, like I say, you're radiating this frequency, which is assisting the whole of the collective consciousness on Earth, 3D and 5D, to rise in consciousness and to shift into a higher vibration. This is why there are so many twins incarnate here on Earth. This is why twins are coming into union as well. Because once twins have reached this pinnacle point, basically is what it is, this is birthing sacred union. Sacred union is what twin flames are here to do. They are here to birth a new template of romantic relationship that is not acting from a 3D template of jealousy, separation, attachment, codependency, and all of these things. The higher vibration, which I talk about in the 3D, 5D union or relationship video, twins are here to anchor that interdependent, unity, loving, oneness, consciousness on Earth. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope that helps, and I hope that makes sense. I have another video that I'm going to release at some point. The twin flame path, is it worth it? And so just to sort of tagline this for the end, it is worth it. It is worth it. Stay the course. So I love you guys. I wish you all the best on your journey forward. If there's anything I can do to help you guys, please leave comments in the comment section below. And as I said, at some point I'm going to be creating courses to assist you guys, and a Patreon, so that I'm here for whatever you guys may need. I know how difficult this journey can be, but it is worth it. It is. You guys have an awesome day.